Hello, everyone. Welcome to what I'm labeling Fantastic Friday. You know, the two F's together, Fantastic Friday. It's April 17th, and we have the lovely Miss Diedre Murphy back. So she is on her third installment of transitioning to working from home today. So we're going to have a little bit of knowledge imparted with us in bite-sized pieces. Dee, what do you have for us today?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about how technology can work for us. That's going to be part of this whole conversation of how we have transitioned from the office to now our home office. I hope everyone's doing well, getting used to this new opportunity to explore new ways of working and connecting with folks. So we're going to talk about technology tools. Next slide. So really, this is be ready to, to try and tap your inner geek. I'm something of a Luddite at times. So there is a learning curve, and we'll talk about that. But we can use modern technology to keep us connected. These tools let us collaborate in ways that then lead to an increase very often in productivity. There is also always a yin to the yang. So for a lot of the upside to technology, there are also some things we need to be aware of that might compromise our security and our safety online. And then also it begs a whole different level of, shall we say, etiquette and awareness so that we are interacting appropriately and we're prepared. So the next slide. So there is a big difference between being connected and you want to draw a line at overexposure. First of all, let's talk about the tools we can use. It's just amazing what's available now that you can connect to your laptop or your workstation and be able to use cameras and headsets and speakers. So first of all, I'm using a camera that's just here on my laptop right there. The little light comes on to let you know. Headsets are really handy. If you want a good set of noise canceling headphones, over the ear headphones can really help cut out all the ambient noise of your coworkers, your new coworkers, so that perhaps your clients are not, or your team aren't sharing in the conversation that your 5-year-old is having over in the other room. The prices have gone way down. Go out, run just a quick Google search. I love best new headphones. You'll get lots of hits, and it's really amazing for the comfort. Also, the noise canceling, when you're not actively using them, you can flip that switch, and it also helps cut out the ambient noise. Excuse me, with a little bit of a white noise filter that allows you to concentrate, say if you're on a deadline or if you're working on a document or you're charting and writing up notes. You can have that. It's an additional little separation from the rest of what's going on around you. Having an extra speaker, I use this one. It's a little Jabra. It's by Jabra. It plugs in. It is super handy dandy, and it allows me very good volume control, easy access mute. I don't know how many times I've ever tried to mute on my phone or on my laptop, and I end up either disconnecting or I don't really mute. And so this is a handy tool to have. It's a peripheral. It picks up quite well. Obviously, you don't need to use that if you're using a headset with a microphone, but these are just some of the tools. The camera, you can get additional cameras that have enhanced tools and features. I just use the one that's integrated on my laptop because that's easiest. When you're looking at the collaboration apps that we have available now, you have Zoom, you have, people use FaceTime. There are a wide variety of them that are available, and they come with a lot of features. And this goes back to, as we're using those they rely on that camera that you're using. So one of the things you need to keep in the back of your mind, and also explore these tools before you try and use them live, test them out on somebody you know if you haven't already done so, and familiarize with yourself with the features and functionality. One of the things about Zoom and some of the other apps is that you can blur your background while you're doing this. And one of the reasons that's important, and also with your camera, is that you don't want to share information that you don't want to share. So pick a background, if you're going to be using one, that doesn't give them any clues as to where you live, what your address is. I'm not sitting in front of a bulletin board that has the names and phone numbers of my family, or information about my children, or picks up something off a work shelf that maybe has confidential information or personal identifying information on it. Again, that's also going back to the camera, because there are also ways to little devices that you can put over the camera lens. Hackers, yes, will go in. People can hijack your camera, or perhaps you forget and leave it on. So keep in mind that when that light is on, or maybe you want to make sure you're keeping that secure. I use a really handy dandy piece of painter's tape, and look at that. I put it over my camera when I'm not using it, so that I make sure I'm not inadvertently sharing anything that I don't want to share. This also, when we're using these collaboration apps, it gives us a great opportunity to touch base with people, stay connected right now. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but it can boost that productivity because you are sharing real time, and you have that opportunity to work across as a team and continue that. But with all of that, protect yourself, not only from what people are saying, but what is inside on your network, what goes across your devices. All of that information is shared half the time, inadvertently, when we don't realize, if we aren't keeping ourselves secure. So keep your passwords current, or change them on a regular basis. Keep your antivirus protection current, is what I had intended to say. Change passwords not only on your devices, but also on your router. Make sure you have a router that has security, security options, so that it's password protected, and update that, as well as update the passwords and logins on your devices. Reason being, if your computer gets hacked, there are times when there are malicious software that is then embedded into your router as well. And so even if you update what's on your laptop, if they have infiltrated the router, anything that you send across with passwords, logins, and all of that goes in and out through that router and can also be accessed. So these tools have a very positive impact on our ability to maintain our connectivity in a lot of ways, but also we have to be aware that we're exposing a lot of ourselves through that network. Next slide. And these tools are not just for work, but they also, as I keep saying, they allow us to stay connected. Keep an eye on that lone worker. When people are now forced into isolation, there are a lot of people that live alone. And we need to make sure that we are staying connected in the case of an emergency, even. These virtual meetups aren't just for business anymore. It's not just a business tool, it's a social tool. It's a way that we can make sure there's a buddy system in place. And think of it not only from just a mental mental health. We're social animals. We want to be together. But also, how about somebody that might slip and fall at home or trip, get injured, something happens. And if we aren't working under a buddy system or checking on folks and have regular check-ins with people that work remotely, we may not be aware for an extended period of time if they were in need of help. So these are safety tools as well as social tools and as well as business tools. It's also that we're now, because there is more physical distance, we need to really look at our purposeful communication, almost over communicating. We all know that very often our meaning, our tone, what we're trying to say gets lost in translation when using technology. So we need to make sure that we're really are really expressing ourselves clearly, because we don't necessarily anymore have that organic interaction, those social cues, body cues, our little shared glances across the room when we're working together, and we know how we have that little business language we use. Now, some of those things might be missed. People are very often uncomfortable talking in front of a camera. So we need to really think about how we communicate, our verbal and our interaction. And so we can use this to improve our relationships. And as well, and I don't think I mentioned it before we touched on it, but the etiquette of it all. I was on a call and, I said something. We were on a video call, a group chat, and one of my daughters made a face. I was like, I can see you, right? So keep that in mind. Don't get caught with your pants down, literally. Very often people dress from the waist up if we're going to be on video calls, but then forget and stand up and get that note off the shelf and might be caught in your underoos. So bear in mind, also learn how to use your mute button. It's very important, especially in a group setting, to not only at times mute yourself if you need to have an aside, but also how to mute everyone on the other end so that it isn't a disruption. Mastering that technology and how we use it is a huge learning curve. So again, test it out on friendly contacts, and give yourself a break, of course, because this is a transition. Going all the way back to what we first said in our very first session, this is all a transition. There is a learning curve to all of this, and we need to be kind to ourselves as we're making this our new workplace from home. Next slide. And I always like to include a safety moment. And this one was a fantastic meme that I saw about all of these surveys that everyone is having a good time doing while you're at home. You see them on Facebook, all kinds of social media, people answering questions. But look at this one. And it says, stop giving people your personal info to guess your passwords and security questions. Let's not overshare. That is one of the keys to successful technology usage. Bad actors are very, very clever. They have very sneaky ways, and they are watching and collecting data. And if you look at most and many of those questions these surveys ask you, those are the very same questions and answers that you provide to access financial accounts, your private networks, your email, all the various places that you employ this information, personal information, and we want to keep that information private. Identity theft is one of the results of this. And right now, also, sadly to say, in the midst of this pandemic, there are a lot of phishing scams right now taking place, many of which are presenting under the guise of research and collecting information that can be used to access your personal accounts and information. So be safe and savvy while you're out there. Educate yourself, protect yourself, and again, be kind to yourself while you're learning a new way to interact with the world, your clients, your family, and your friends. Thank you. And that's it.
This is awesome, Dee. My face will come zooming back up here in a minute. There. Thank you. I mean, it's all very good reminders of just, don't leave the house with the stove on type of things. But we do it when we get in crisis mode and we don't think about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's common sense, but right now it just bears articulating. If, there are a lot of things we take for granted, and I, for one, have had a lot of aha moments throughout this new experience. There are a lot of really fabulous benefits to it. But there are also, as with everything, there are always challenges to be found, opportunities to discover, and new ways of doing things that make us improve how we go about our daily lives.
That's true. And I will add a personal security thing for technology that I do every night. I'm hardwired. I have Ethernet running through my house. I don't use Wi-Fi, partly because of security. I unplug my Ethernets from my computers every night, because a lot of phishing scams or things will come in at night and utilize your computers when you're not aware of it. So if you just turn off Wi-Fi or unplug the Ethernet, it takes care of that problem. You don't have any security issues then.
That's a great one. Absolutely a good one. Yeah, I make sure I log out of my network every night. So, and that's also another good way to make sure you're walking away and leaving your work at work and enjoy this weekend and go out and tackle a few small projects, maybe have a little bit of a list, but don't overburden yourself. It is a restorative opportunity, so take advantage of that.
I totally agree, and I'm going to do bite size versus super size this weekend. So,
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dee. We have loved having you here these last 3 weeks.
Welcome. All right. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. See you all later.